Good morning and greetings, good people. This is first let me say welcome. Welcome to the Freedom to Choose Schools Action Gubernatorial Forum for Georgia. This forum is specifically dedicated to talking about education. And we have several viewers with us that have specific interest in what the next round of governors, how they feel about education. I am Jay Artist Wright. I'm the executive director of Freedom to Choose Schools. I will be one of your moderators leading this discussion, and I am honored to co-moderate this session with an Atlanta native, David Morgan, who's the Regional Director of Advocacy and Legislative Affairs. David, welcome.
Thank you, Jay. It's a pleasure to be here on this Saturday morning. I want to welcome everybody. I know we got some fraternities and some sororities and teachers and families. I'm really excited about moderating this forum with you.
Yep. So before we get into it, for all of those who are viewing, let me tell you a little bit about Freedom to Choose Schools and Freedom to Choose Schools Action. We are a nonpartisan advocacy organization committed to expanding quality education options across the board, specifically focused on what happens in marginalized communities. And we have been working in Atlanta for several years now, really excited about the opportunity to have our school leaders, our educators, our community folks be on this forum to hear firsthand from potentially the next governor of Georgia. So we want to just talk about what's going to happen today. We're going to hear from 4 individual candidates that are running for governor. We had 5, but unfortunately we had one drop out at the last minute. 4 out of the 7 candidates running for governor will be on today. There's some rules that we have to go over for each candidate so that everyone can understand the flow of the day. The first is each candidate receives equal time. They have about 90 seconds to respond unless noted otherwise, and we'll be asking questions submitted by community members, many of whom are in the audience today. And David, what else do we need to know before we get into our candidates?
Well, who we have joining us, Jay, as you said, we have former Labor Commissioner Michael Thurman, current State Representative Derrick Jackson, former State Senator and School Board Member Jason Estevez, and Pastor Olu Brown. Those are the candidates that we have following us. And one other quick thing, Jay, is before we get started, I want to know if the people who have joined us, if you've decided who you're going to vote for, if you're voting on the Democratic side, if you decided who you're going to vote for. If you have, you can scan the QR code. You can scan the QR code. And you can scan that. Or if you don't have that, this is a mouthful that I'm about to say, poll, that's POLLEV.com/Natasha Robinson 115. Or you could text Natasha Robinson 115 to 2233.
So this is going to be really exciting because when we've done information like this before, a lot of people are still very undecided. So it'd be interesting to see if people have made their decision already or if they're still undecided. So we'll give some time for y'all to use that QR code. David, what are you excited about today?
You know what? To ask meaningful questions to the candidates and for the audience to hear it firsthand. You know, because a lot of times politics happens in sound bites. There's a bunch of finger pointing and things of that nature. So to have a real robust, thorough conversation where voters will hear firsthand in a thoughtful way, I'm excited about that. What are you excited for, Jay?
Yeah, I would say the same. I think this is the first, obviously, type of virtual candidate forum we've done. We've done, virtual showings of like the vice president candidate debate and stuff like that. So I always enjoy opportunities to get engaged with people in our community because oftentimes, we don't get a chance to talk like this. And so I'm just excited to have people be responsive and, can be in their homes in a comfortable space, but also just hear from all of the candidates. So that's exciting to me. And let's see, do we have the results here? Have you decided who you are voting for? 100% said, I can't read that, it's kind of small.
It says no.
Wow.
My eyesight is better than yours, Jay.
All right. Well, I just gotta let you take that one for now. So, wow, this is great. 100% are undecided. So this is really good for an opportunity for all of the candidates running for governor to potentially, persuade some people. This is why we do things like this. We want to keep
Right.
our voters informed, engaged, have them build and connect with people, lawmakers that are going to be running our state. So without further ado, I think we should get into it. Is that good with you, David?
Ready to roll.
All right. So up first, our first candidate is Michael Thurmond. Mr. Thurmond will be joining us from his car because, as most people know, he's a busy man right now. So we appreciate him taking the time to join us. Mr. Thurmond, thank you for being here. You have about 2 minutes for just opening statements. Let people know who you are. Can you hear us over there? You can't hear us. Okay. See, this is one of the things we have to deal with when we do something live. All right. Give us a thumbs up. I'm going to keep talking until we can get you. Can you hear us now? We can hear you fine. So
You're not. He was just talking to us a few minutes ago, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I just can't hear. I can't hear you all.
Man, we can hear you.
Yeah. Let's see.
I can't hear.
All right. We'll try to see if we can get his.
I'm not sure.
Let's see.
But I can't hear what this is.
Can you see us? Can you see us? He can't hear us.
I'm gonna go out and come back. Maybe.
All right. So. All right, so he's going to go out and try to come back in. Again, this is one of those things when you're in a car and trying to live stream. Sometimes the internet isn't as friendly or as gracious as we expect it to be.
Now I can hear you.
All right,
praise Jesus.
God all right, we got to figure it out.
In God good, in God good.
Matter of fact, we just gonna have church. We ain't got no questions for you. We just gonna have church. That's
crazy. Now the screen's gone. See. The devil's alive, man. I swear, we're going to make this work. It's going to happen.
The first person, too, Jay.
I know.
People probably be like, ooh, they so bootleg. They're like, no, I shouldn't have got on here listening to David.
Man, whatever. Listening to David. Well, if anything else, it could be entertaining to watch this.
Oh, my God. Like, girl, I got on then.
All right. So we can't see, but Mr. Thurmond, if you can hear us, we want to give you time for an opening. Nope, he gone. Whew, I'm just gonna breathe for a second, David. This is interesting, right?
Quite interesting. Let's see. So, here we go.
All right, I'm back. We're back.
All right, we're good to go.
Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. We were going over the rules. We were saying as we open up to ask you for questions, we want to give you about 90 seconds to just give our viewers an opening statement about who you are and why you're running for governor.
Of course, I'm Mike Thurmond. I apologize. We had a food distribution for TSA workers this morning here in Atlanta and around the state of Georgia, on my way to Rome, Georgia. But Mike Thurmond, when you all elect me as your next governor, I'll be the first former school superintendent to ever serve as governor of Georgia. Among my many previous experiences, I served in the Georgia House of Representatives. I served on the House Education Committee. But most important, from 2015 to 2017, I was the superintendent of the DeKalb County School District, the third largest school district in Georgia. During an accreditation crisis, we saved our accreditation, eliminated a $14 million deficit. We left with a $90 million surplus. We improved graduation rates and test scores. And I worked with several publicly chartered schools within the DeKalb County School District. So I'll be a champion for education for our children.
All right, Mr. Thurmond, thank you so much. And I have a few questions I have to ask. The first one I want to ask you is about teacher pay and evaluation, which you should be very familiar with considering your background. What is your view on letting teachers opt into a system where they can reach their maximum salary in 15 years instead of 30, with pay increases based solely on achieving proficient or exemplary status?
I support that wholeheartedly, but it's not just a promise. When I became school superintendent, our teachers, as well as other professional employees, had not received a raise in several years. I eliminated furlough days, all of the furlough days. I think we had 7 that was severely impacting teacher pay. We eliminated all of those furlough days and allowed teachers and others to earn a fair salary for their effort. I will continue to do that as governor of the state of Georgia.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. Second question we have for you, Mr. Thurman, is principals, especially in high needs high schools, are currently required to accept teachers from other schools without their input or consent, and before they can hire other teachers. This practice is called forced placements. What are your thoughts about ending the practice of forced placements in all schools in Georgia?
Well, first and foremost, it should be a collaborative effort. Nothing should be forced. One of the secret sauces that I used as superintendent, people said, Mike, you came in literally with no background, no experience in education. I relied on my frontline employees, particularly my principals, to help me better understand the needs in our schools and in our classrooms. I'll continue to do this. One of the big problems we have is that we got politicians who think they know everything about education simply because they went to school at some point. What I'll do is bring our educators to the table at the state level to help us address some of what it has been intractable issues in our education system. We'll have a partnership between professional educators, parents, as well as the political leadership, and especially your next governor.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I want to move into another question about enrollment decline and school choice, if you don't mind. First, I want to share some data with you. FCS commissioned an esteemed pollster, Cornell Belcher, in July 2025. The overwhelming sentiment of Black and Brown families was they wanted more educational options for their children. Top 3 reasons cited were, by multiple sources, were declining birth rates, housing affordability and demographic shifts, and school choice and alternative education. My question to you is, as governor, what would be your approach to stopping the decline in enrollment in Metro Atlanta school districts, predominantly enrolled by Black and Latino students? And what is your position on allowing them to have more educational options?
Well, first, Mr. Belcher's man I respect, a longtime friend, so thank you all for securing his service. Let me tell you the underlying what's going on with this whole issue of enrollment decline. It's the things that you mentioned, but look, I always thought that reduced class sizes was something we should see as a North Star. Reduced enrollment is not necessarily a negative thing. What's making it negative is the way QBE funding is allocated. As your next governor, I will provide funding to support particularly metro school systems and school systems all over Georgia. I was in Tifton about 2 weeks ago and speaking to a school board member. They were faced with school closures as well in Tift County. So we should take this opportunity to support reduced class sizes. If you look at the research, particularly if you're dealing with low-income kids who come from socioeconomically challenged communities, kids who are struggling, smaller classes is what you see that as a negative opportunity.
I think we lost him for a quick second there. And he was on a roll too, saying smaller class sizes. What did you get from that, David? We could share with the audience.
Yeah, it seems like his he thinks that declining enrollment can be leveraged for an opportunity to shrink class sizes, and he thinks that that could lead to learning gains.
Yeah, so see, that's sometimes one of the things deficit-driven strategies rarely succeed. Thank you. We often see this, oh, it's a negative. No, it's an opportunity. Look at all the research. All of the research says that smaller class sizes can enhance learning opportunities for all students, particularly those students who are most challenged. So why are we sitting here as a state not saying, look, let's support this, let's invest in this opportunity to expand and strengthen educational opportunities for all of our children? This is an opportunity, not a crisis, for public education, for all education in the state of Georgia.
Excellent. Okay. Next to last question, Mr. Thurman, is, as you probably know, there's literacy legislation going through the Georgia General Assembly right now. But our question is this: when you look at proficiency rates using the NAEP, that's the National Norm Reference Test, which I'm sure you're probably aware of, in 2024, Black students in Georgia, 18% proficient in reading, 9% in math. Latino, 26% proficient in reading, 17% in math. White, 43% in reading, 38% in math. And this legislation that's going through the General Assembly right now, it's more literacy coaches, strengthening early literacy instruction, mandatory kindergarten, attendance, student readiness and screening, and a statewide literacy infrastructure. So the question is this: what would be your position on doing something similar for middle schoolers? Because it seems like the data shows that we need additional resources there as well. I can't hear him. Can you hear him, Jay?
No, I can't hear him.
Well, definitely we need to invest in middle school as well. So if you make the initial investment, unless we continue that investment in middle school, we stand the risk of losing those gains. If you look at the state of Mississippi, which is big when it comes to literacy, the studies are also showing that many of those gains are being lost as the kids matriculate into middle and high school. So you're absolutely right. We must continue that investment. And as your next governor, I'll do it. And those are the type strategies that we used in the past, and those are the ones we'll use in the future. And I hope you all are hearing me. I'm so disappointed this connection is not good.
No, it's not that good, but we are hearing you, and I want to just make sure I clarify. I think you were quoting the Mississippi Miracle, where Mississippi went from the bottom half in literacy to now in the top half across the country. Is that correct, sir? Is that what you were discussing?
Yeah, that's what I said. And like I say, I'm sorry about this. I've been looking forward to talking to you all about education, and I'm just sorry we're having these technical issues.
Listen, as the next governor, you have to be ready to pivot and understand that everything doesn't run smoothly. So you are doing a fantastic job. Don't worry about it. Even though there's some static, I think it's very clear what you said. You're very passionate about education. So it's coming through clear for us. I do have one request, though. It's a little bit staticky. We've got one final question, or we have two more questions. That one that I'll have to ask, and then we have another one from one of our viewers. But just to make sure that we can hear you clearly, I think it may be a little bit better. I may ask you to get off of this studio and come back on one more time. But I don't know, Mr. Thurman, can you hear us well? Yeah, he may have to go off and come back on again. Can you hear us? No, he's not. Okay, let's try that again. Well, while we wait, I'm excited to have Cynthia Stamp Jones, an educator, have her question come up in a minute. But then we have one final question about spending and outcomes, which I think is an important question considering how much money the state of Georgia has been spending on education. So Let's see if we can get him. Can you hear us, sir?
Let's roll, Beach. It's just couldn't make it work.
All right, we got
We
you.
can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Hear us? We can hear you.
No, he doesn't see us. Let's get him back off of studio and see if we can do it again.
I think Jay, if he can't this time, then we probably just need to.
Yeah, just let it go. Yeah, I agree. We'll try one more time. We've only got 2 more questions to ask, so hopefully we can get through this. And then we do have Mr. Jackson backstage right now, don't we? Is that the next?
We do. Derek
Okay.
Jackson is.
So we'll see what we can do, and if we can't get him on, then we will just pivot to Mr. Jackson. How about that? Does that sound good?
Sounds excellent.
Okay. All right. Bree, do we want to try to bring in Mr. Thurman one more time, or are we just going to call it a wash on that one? Okay. Mr. Thurman, can you hear us? Yeah. All right. Well, unfortunately, we have some technical difficulty with Mr. Thurman, who was passionately speaking about education, the literacy rates, what he plans on doing as the next governor. He mentioned that he supported what's happening in Mississippi, the thing that they call the Mississippi Miracle, where Mississippi was able to increase their NAEP scores, and it sounds like he wants to implement something like that for Georgia.
One other thing to note, Jay, that he said about that is that the Mississippi Miracle, he said the reason that he thinks that implementing that in middle school is important is because those gains are being lost as the kid continued to matriculate through. He did also say that. That's why he think it would be important, the same type of investments in middle school.
Okay. All right. Well, if we can get him back, I would love to have him, but we do have Mr. Derek Jackson backstage, and so I want to give him an opportunity to come on as well. So if we can bring Mr. Jackson on. There he is. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
I'm ready.
All right. I love it.
With all the technical gremlins on this end.
We just burn some sage, everything, right? Just beat them up. They're not gonna happen. I got you. Right. I got you.
Oh man. Okay, all well, right. Brother Jackson.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is the day the Lord has made.
Yes,
let us rejoice and be glad, and I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Jackson, we're so glad to have you. And again, thank you so much for your time. You have 2 minutes to give us an opening statement and let our viewers know who you are.
All right. Well, first off, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, David. And to all the educators out there, before I begin, I want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up every day for our children. Thank you for spending your own money at times on classroom supplies or giving the little child a granola bar because they're hungry, because you understand the assignment that a child that's hungry will not learn. Thank you for being counselors, mentors, and sometimes the only stable adult in a child's life. You are not just teachers. You are nation builders. You are creating leaders today for tomorrow. And as your next governor, I would treat you like that as well. I would value you. I would see you. I'm not here to make promises that I cannot keep. I'm here to tell you what exactly I've already done in the State House these last 10 years. I'm in my 5th term. And what I would do as your governor to fully fund public education, protect your profession, and end this privatization, rob Peter to pay Paul, that's negatively impacting our school system abroad, across all of Georgia. And then last but not least, out of all the titles that I've had in my life, 22 years in the United States Navy, retired Navy commander. You can see my shadow box. That's 22 years, 7 deployments, 4 combat missions, 2 special operation and humanitarian. I did 10 years in corporate America. Had the opportunity to work for a company, General Electric, GE, where we facilitated $1 billion portfolio. Our products went to 162 countries in these last 10 years, serving under that gold dome, understanding the fight, making sure that teachers are equipped with the resources that you all need to make our leaders for tomorrow. And then last but not least, out of all that, I'm a husband and a father. My wife and I, we have a beautiful blend of 4 daughters and 3 sons. The oldest, I just walked down the aisle. She's a doctor practicing medicine up in Chicago. The next daughter, right here in corporate America in Atlanta. My third daughter graduated from Yale, preparing for pre-law. Then we have boys. A son just finished up 5 years at Duke University. He got a bachelor's and a master's. Our son, other son, played 2 years with Coach Prime, just graduated from Kennesaw State University with a civil engineer. Then going back to girls, got a daughter in 2 years, she'll be called doctor as well. And then last but not least, got a son at Morehouse. I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you. When parents and teachers are equipped with the necessary options and resources, we are producing productive citizens. And with that, I yield for any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And what a blessing to you and to your wife to have such success within your family. That is really impressive. And so glad that you shared that with us. And thank you for your service as well, being a Navy veteran. First question we have for you is actually around teacher pay and evaluation. According to Georgia Gwinnett College Schools of Education, unit data shows 85% of all educators rate at proficient or exemplary on Georgia's teacher evaluation system. Clayton County, the starting salary is around $57,000. Going up to Fulton County, the starting salary is around $60,000. What is your view on letting teachers opt into a system where they can reach their maximum salary in 15 years instead of 30 years and pay increase based solely on achieving proficient or exemplary status?
Yeah, Jay, that's an excellent question. And thank you, because that falls right into my 3 R's that I've been talking about the last 9 months on the campaign trail. And the 3 R's for educators that out there. I'm going to be the governor that's going to focus on recruitment. That's the first R. Retention is the second R. And then retirement is the third R. I know some of my competitors out there, they're trying to speak the same language, but it's not as genuine, as authentic as I'm going to present it, right? Because teachers not getting paid their due salary, right? Although Georgia, our teachers are ranked number 27 out of 50 states, that's the middle of the pack. I think that's egregious. And I love the scale that you just demonstrated on there. But although we showing $61,000, our starting teacher salary is at $43,000. That's a problem. We sitting on $14.3 billion surplus. And so I'm going to be that governor that's going to carve out a $500 million to say, let's pay teachers what they're worth, right? Let's start off, instead of $43,000, let's start off with $55,000. And then if you have other degrees and certifications, then we're going to start you off at that $65,000 block. Let's demonstrate that we value our teachers. That's how we're going to recruit other teachers that want to come here to Georgia and teach. And then you got retention, right? And then we got to focus on their retirement. So that way, when teachers finish up doing 30, 40 years of teaching, that they can retire with dignity.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Second question is this, Representative Jackson, is principals, especially in high need schools, are currently required to accept teachers from other schools without their input or consent, and before they can hire other teachers. This practice is called forced placements. What are your thoughts about ending the practice of forced placements in all Georgia schools?
Yeah, David, thank you. I truly believe If we're going to hire administrators to do the job, we don't need to micromanage them, right? They're the experts. They understand exactly what they need in that county, in that city, in that school system. Not all 180 school systems in Georgia are created equal. So let's empower the administrator to do the job effectively and stop forcing them to do something that we're going to hold them accountable and responsible for. And so I completely reject that we should be forcing administrators and tying their hands to do something that we hire them to do something that they're already capable of doing. And that's to lead. Let them evaluate their staff. Let them make the right decisions for their school system that we put them in charge of.
Okay.
All righty. Well, the next question we have is in regards to enrollment and the enrollment decline, and also school choice. In Metro Atlanta, DeKalb County or Atlanta Public Schools, they have a 5.7% decline in enrollment. And again, going down to the bottom, Gwinnett County and Cobb County, it's about 1.8%. We did a poll commissioned by the esteemed Cornell Belcher in July 2025, and the overwhelming sentiment for Black and Brown families was that they wanted more educational options. The top 3 reasons cited were declining birth rates, housing affordability, demographic shifts, and school choice and alternative education. My question for you is, as governor, what would be your approach to stopping the decline in enrollment in Metro Atlanta school districts that are predominantly Black and Latino, by the way? And what is your position on allowing them to have more educational options?
Yeah, Jay, again, I'm a reiterate what I said in my opening remarks, right? I truly believe that as governor, I'm going to empower parents to exercise the option because they know their child best. Much like how my wife and I, you know that not all your children are going to make it in public education. Some of them may meet the merits to go to a private get a private education or a charter school education, right? So our 7 amazing young adults, the end product is to make sure that they're productive citizens. And so, again, I'm sharing with you as being transparent as possible. When you have a child that graduated from Meharry and Fisk and Yale and Duke and Kennesaw State and Xavier, you got a mixture of HBCUs and PWI, predominantly white institutions, because we were empowered to make the right choice for our children. And so I'm going to be that kind of governor that makes sure that we have the legislation that's going to say diversity, equity, and inclusion is okay. And then here it is, Jade. Then get out of the way.
Excellent.
Let parents make the choice. Let the teachers train up our children, and then the governor needs to get out of the way.
Excellent. All right. Next question.
There's something about leadership by example, David.
Amen.
Right?
Man, I keep you're right, Brother Jackson. Keep cutting you off. My apologies. I'll get to this is the next to the last question that we have. I want to show you a chart that speaks to proficiency rates for 8th graders in Georgia for Black, Latino, and white. And you know better than anyone that you have legislation going through the General Assembly right now dealing with literacy. And as you can see, Blacks is 18% in reading, 9% in math. Latino, 26%. And this is proficiency rates for 8th graders. 26% for Latino, 17% in math. White, 43% in reading, and 38% in math. And as you can see, the things that's included in legislation going through the Georgia General Assembly. Here's the question. What is your position on having that same type of investment that for middle schoolers, 8th graders, as right now that the investment that seems like is going to be happening for early education in Georgia?
Yeah, thank you for the question, David. And yes, we are dealing with this issue right now. I'm the only candidate on a Democratic side that's elected. I'm the only candidate that's fighting this fight right now, right? And so one of the things, David, and just for your listening audience, because you've already heard me say this during this session, why is it that our spending per student is $14,000, but for per prisoner is $41,000 per prisoner? See, Georgia believes in before the 8th grade, they're starting to do an assessment on a 3rd grader. Can you read and write? What's your literacy as a 3rd grader? So I'm going to be a governor that said, let's just get them well before 8th grade. Let's get them well before 3rd grade. Let's get them at 2 years of age. I want to bring your children into the school system at the age of 2. Why? It's going to do 3 things. 1, instead of waiting to get them at 4 years of age, we're going to get them at 2. They're potty trained, they're walking, they're talking, and that's going to save you on child care. Georgia's average child care, monthly average child care is $1,700. And that's going to allow the family to go back to work earlier, right? So let's get them at the age of 2. That's number 1. Number 2, we're starting to help them read and write in a more formal setting. We can't run the chance of a household just allowing for Sesame Street and electric company to try to change this trajectory, the school to prison pipeline. So that's the reason why we're going to get them early. And then number 3, I'm going to be that governor that places value in the child, because not everybody's going to go to college. So let's look at workforce development. Let's start introducing the child and piquing their interest in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So by the time they get to the 8th grade, they want to come to school. They're interested in coming to school. We're going to make sure that the 644,000 children that are receiving SNAP benefits are being fed. They don't go to bed at night hungry and waking up in the morning hungry. So this is a very comprehensive approach to make sure we are producing and creating an environment for our children to learn, and they can be productive citizens well before they graduate. And let's turn this trajectory around. I'm going to bust up this school to prison pipeline because I'm listening to the voice of the educators. All the ideas I just shared with you came from educators, not me.
All right. Well, let's stay a little bit on that same vein. Let's talk about funding and spending versus outcomes. So education in Georgia is the single largest category for state budget. In fact, in the past 5 years, it's increased from 10.6 billion to now 13.2 billion. That's an increase of over 2.3 billion in the last 5 years. Yet, as you mentioned, the school to prison pipeline and the spending that we have in our prison institutions is still a lot higher overall as compared to spending. How can you reconcile spending more, yet the indicators, our outcomes for our students, especially Black and Latino students, they're not on proficiency. They're not reading on proficiency in math. How can you reconcile that?
Yeah, Jay, I mean, and thank you for that graph, right? Because that's showing you what we're doing today. But the real question, Jade, is how did we get here? See, because since we're dealing with this QBE formula that hasn't been updated since 1985, and there's no poverty weight to it. See, because Governor Nathan Deal in 2014, 2015, he was going to make an attempt, but he said, nah, I don't want to do that because these austerity cuts is what created this mess anyway, Jade. Since the Great Recession in 2008, 9, and 10, the austerity cuts sucked out $11 billion. We never replaced that. So it's great that we can show that chart. They're saying what we're doing today and we're fully funding QBE formula, but we created a hole of $11 billion. So that's the reason why our children, and especially in rural parts of Georgia and the Black and brown communities, disproportionately been harmed because of underfunded. And we're pushing right now, Jade, unfunded mandates. So the state saying we're going to continue to sit on this $14.3 billion surplus, and we're going to push this down to the local level. That's a problem. And that's why I need to become the governor. I'm going to be the governor that's focusing on education. I'm going to be the governor that understands the voice of the educators, bring the educators not just in the room, but a seat at the table. And then, as I stated, and just get out of the way, because you all know best. You're the subject matter experts. Let's get this thing done. And for those who continue to say, well, Derek, you voted against vouchers and charters. Yes. And the reason being, because if we're going to really say that we're for a voucher system or a charter school system, then let's create its own separate budget line item. We got to stop robbing Peter to pay Paul, because when you take money out of the public education system, that hurts our special needs children. That hurts our academics and our not professors, our administrators and educators.
Okay, Brother Derek, we have one final question. We have about 60 seconds for this response. And it comes from actually an educator, Cynthia Stamps Jones. And our question is, for decades, some districts have left locally approved charter schools that are in district-owned buildings out of eSPLOST investments and funding. Do you agree with this practice by some school districts?
Cynthia, again, thank you for the question, Cynthia. And if legislation is going to create this mess, we're going to need legislation to get us out of this mess. We need political elected officials to exercise courage and say, if I'm going to be, I'm putting my dad hat back on. If you're going to have a building that's 2 minutes from me and it's a public charter school, then I should have the ability to take my child there. My tax dollars are already paying for the infrastructure, the water, utilities, right? So the governor needs to make sure that they listen to the voice of the citizens, the mom and the dads out there. And that's the reason why, Cynthia, I'm saying we got a public education budget line item. Let's create a charter budget line item. And it's independent, it's separate and apart. And let's create these budget line items. We just signed off a $43.6 billion budget. And there's nowhere in there it says charter schools. It says public education. So we got to stop robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we got to stop listening to elected officials that say one thing in Buckhead and say something else in Bankhead. If I'm going to give you options, I'm going to give you those options. You're a taxpayer. So thank you for that question, Cynthia.
Well, that brings us to a conclusion, brother.
No technical issues.
That's it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much.
Jay. Thank you, David.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So
Thank you for your time, brother.
Yeah. All right. And up next we have Jason Estevez. Is Mr. Estevez here with us?
Yes.
All right, there he goes. Okay.
Here we go.
Welcome, Mr. Estevez. Thanks
All right,
so
can
much.
y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
That I don't know if that was a screenshot behind you, or that's
Jade, I don't think I can hear you.
Uh-oh.
I can hear David though.
Because you like me, bro.
Whatever. It's a conspiracy.
You still can't hear Jay?
I don't think so.
Say something, Jay.
Something, Jay. No?
Okay.
Oh, that's
Well,
funny.
So yeah, so I'll ask the question. So
Okay.
um,
I'm very sorry. I can't hear you, but I can hear David. I can definitely hear
All right.
David.
yeah. So a quick 90-second just opening statement that you want to give to the participants on here about a little bit about you and just your vision as relates to education in our state.
Yeah, thank you so much, y'all, for having me. And sorry, I am remote here down in Atlanta, marching in the No Kings rally, helping in the resistance against what Donald Trump is doing to our country and doing to our economy here in Georgia. My name is Jason Estevez. I'm proud to be running to be governor of the state of Georgia. And I want to let people know that education is at the top of my agenda as I crisscross this state. I talk to folks about health, wealth, and opportunity, and how I will be laser focused on those three issues each and every day. Expanding access to healthcare, making sure that we have opportunities to keep and grow the money in our pockets, but most importantly, ensuring that our children and our grandchildren have more opportunities than what we've had. And we know that in the state of Georgia, there's a lot that we can be doing around education and around ensuring that our young people are able to live out to their full potentials. I'm a former public school teacher. I was raised on the south side of Columbus, Georgia, and then my first job out of college was as a middle school social studies teacher. It's the hardest job I've ever done, but it's also the most rewarding job I've ever done. And from the classroom, I went to the school board of Atlanta Public Schools at a time when Atlanta was in crisis. I helped to rebuild trust, helped to turn around the school system that was graduating 55% of its kids. And today, Atlanta Public Schools is graduating more than 90% of its kids, a higher graduation rate than the state of Georgia. I intend on being the education governor, making sure that we make historic investments in our public education system, starting with early learning, bringing universal childcare to the state of Georgia, but also ensuring that we are empowering school districts, we are innovating, we are empowering our teachers and paying them what they deserve. But most importantly, on the back end of the journey, providing those young adults with opportunities, the good paying jobs, regardless of whether they go to college or go straight into a career. At the end of the day, I'm going to be focused on opportunity. That's what my campaign is about. I look forward to earning your vote. Jason Estevez, running for governor.
Excellent, brother. Excellent. Jay, say something again. Just see if
that was excellent open statement. And can you hear me, or you still can't hear me? Oh.
No. Okay. Well, I'll do it. Well, speaking of teachers, Jason,
Can you hear her? So it's just
I
me?
can hear her.
Oh,
yeah, but that's okay. We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Okay. I'm very sorry, Jay.
It's okay.
I'm going to bring up a chart. Speaking of teachers, and in this graph shows, Jason, according to the Georgia Gwinnett College of Education, 85% of educators rated as proficient or exemplary on Georgia's teacher evaluation system. What is your view on letting teachers opt into a system where they can reach their maximum salary in 15 years instead of 30 years, with pay increases based solely on being proficient or exemplary?
Look, I think that we need to change the way improve the way we're compensating our teachers. One, we need to improve their pay because in the chart that you just pointed out, the starting salary for our teachers is still relatively low as it relates to the entire country. And in Georgia, the average salary is about $65,000 a year. That's for the average Georgian. So the fact that the starting salary for a teacher is lower than that is not great. I want to make sure that our teachers are getting paid what they're due, and that we don't have a governor that's just giving them bonuses around election time. I want to make sure that they're compensated what they're supposed to be compensated throughout my term as governor. The other thing I want to ensure that we do is that we change and empower teachers to improve their pay much faster. As you said, opting into a system where they can accelerate their pay increases, and then making sure that we're not necessarily capping the pay for teachers anyway. I think that they should be paid as much as we can afford, as much as they are worth. I think that's incredibly important, especially because teachers now are more important than ever before in the face of what we're seeing around AI. We need more teachers in our classrooms, ensuring that our students are receiving tools and the skills that they need to be successful. So I want to rethink the funding formula. I want to rethink public education generally on how we pay our teachers to ensure that they are being competitively paid and that we're competitive as it relates to the rest of the country.
Excellent. Thank you. Second question, 90 seconds response is principals, especially in high need schools, are currently required to accept teachers from other schools without the principal's input or consent, and before they can hire other teachers. This practice is commonly called forced placements. What are your thoughts about ending the practice of forced placements in all schools in Georgia?
It's a bad practice. It's a bad practice. It's something that we would never require of effective managers. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure we're treating our educators with the respect that they deserve, which means empowering them in their classroom, but it also means empowering the leaders of our schools to run their schools. And I believe that that's what we have learned from effective schools all across the country, but particularly here in Georgia, whether we're looking at charter schools or traditional public schools, when we empower leaders on campus to run their schools to the best of their ability to impact their children, we tend to see better results. And that comes down to hiring. I'm a small business owner. My wife and I own 3 small businesses. We employ about 100 Georgians across the state. So I understand how important it is to empower people to hire people that they can work with. And I would end that practice and everything could to end that practice and ensure that those leaders of campuses across the state are able to hire who they believe are best equipped to serve the students that they serve. Excellent.
Thank you, brother. Third question, we have 5 for you, brother. Third question, I want to bring up another chart that talks about Metro Atlanta enrollment change. And I think I know, if you look, Atlanta Public Schools, you see a drop. DeKalb, same thing. Fulton, Clayton, Gwinnett, and Cobb seems to be holding stable. And the top 3 reasons cited by multiple sources for enrollment decline has been declining birth rates, housing affordability and demographic shifts, and school choice and alternative education. So what we did, Jason, we did a poll with esteemed pollster Cornell Belcher in July 2025. And the overwhelming sentiment is that Black and brown families want more educational options. So the question is this: as governor, what would be your approach to stopping the decline in enrollment in Metro Atlanta school districts that are predominantly Black and Latino? And what is your position on allowing them to have more educational options?
Look, so I think that when it comes to educational options, I am the product of a magnet school that I went to in Columbus, Georgia, where I'm from. And that magnet school provided my parents with a high quality option that was different than my zone schools. I was also on the board of KIPP South Fulton Academy, a charter school here in Metro Atlanta. So I understand the importance of ensuring that parents across the state have options. It's one of the reasons that as a state senator, I promoted voted for legislation that incentivized school districts to provide parents with options. I think that that's what parents want. And frankly, I think that's what students want as well. They want to be able to go to schools that best meet their needs. And I think as leaders, we have an obligation to meet that moment. At the same time, we are facing some challenges all across the state, particularly as it relates to birth rates and the affordability crisis that we have. When it comes to birth rates, they're going down for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons they're going down is because of how much it costs for families to have children. And that's why I proposed universal childcare, making childcare more affordable. It's why I propose things like making sure that we have paid parental leave, that we are supporting our families so that we are ensuring that our young people want to have children. I have many folks on my staff who are in their 20s and early 30s who have told me that they can't afford to have children, that they are not interested in having children because of the cost. That is impacting enrollment rates across the state. So we have to do what we can to support families. At the same time, the cost of housing has gone dramatically up. It's made things very challenging for people to live in communities. And what we're seeing is, particularly in Black and brown communities, those communities are getting older because those are the most affordable communities and the seniors are staying in place. Because of that, those seniors are not living with children, and we're seeing enrollment rates decline. I want to make sure that we solve our affordability crisis, our housing crisis, by building more homes, by ensuring that we have first-time homebuyer programs that actually work and that are helping our young people buy into neighborhoods that need it the most. It's going to take working at the state level, working with city and county officials to make sure that they have the resources that they need, so that we have a housing revolution in Georgia. But at the end of the day, David and Jade, we need to make sure that we are promoting families, supporting families, so that we are having more babies. And at the same time, we have to make sure that our communities are affordable and that we are encouraging families to move into communities that frankly have been forgotten across Metro Atlanta.
Okay, excellent. Next to last question, brother, is we'll bring another chart up on the screen that will deal with Georgia's NAEP scores, 2024 proficiency rates. And in reading for Black children, 18% proficient, 9% proficient in math. Latino, 26% proficient, 17% proficient in math. And for white, it is 43% proficient and 38% in math proficient. As you know, the Georgia General Assembly is currently considering literacy legislation dealing with more literacy teachers, student readiness, statewide literacy infrastructure. But here's the question, Jason. With the alarming rates of proficiency in reading and math for 8th graders, especially Black and Latino students, what would be your legislative solution to address this?
Yeah, well, look, we should have passed legislation to ensure that we were tackling our literacy crisis a long time ago. At this point, we are behind states like Mississippi when it comes to literacy. And what I will do as governor is prioritize literacy and ensure that we end the crisis that we have. It starts with universal childcare. It starts with early learning. But we also have to make sure that we're working on those children that are currently in elementary, middle, and high school who are far behind. Jade and David, you know this statistic, 70% of our children are not reading on grade level by the time they reach 4th grade. It doesn't get any better the later that we get into the educational journey. We have to do what we can to change that because it is impacting not just our academics, it's impacting our economy and the ability for these children to have good paying jobs. And I want to make sure that we do that by tackling literacy early on. I also want to make sure that we lean into the experts, trust our educators, hold them accountable, and that we start to innovate more around our public schools. There's no reason that we should be educating our children the same way today that we've been educating them for the last 100 years. It makes no sense. And I believe that there are innovative solutions in the public school context, whether it's traditional, whether it's charter or anything else, where there are solutions to these issues that are specific to each community. And what I want to do as governor is make sure that we're empowering our school districts, that we're empowering local communities to bring those solutions forward and to ensure that we are educating our children. We have to ultimately make sure that we're funding those solutions. And that means changing the funding formula that is ridiculously outdated, the QB formula, which I'm sure you've heard other candidates talk about, so I won't repeat what they've said.
Okay. It's like, and I promise y'all we didn't cue this, but last question.
Yeah.
Speaking of spending, last chart that we want to show is K-12 spending in Georgia over the last 5 years. 2021, it was 10.6 billion. Now, or at least in 2025, it was $13.2 billion. As you know, Jason, education is the single biggest line item in Georgia's budget, and it has increased by $2.3 billion over the last 5 years. So here's the question, spending versus outcomes. How do you reconcile that as a state, we're spending more on education than ever before, yet key indicators like reading and math proficiency are stagnating or declining for over half of Black and brown children?
Yeah, we haven't been spending in the right places, and we haven't been following the experts. We haven't been doing what we need to do. And at the end of the day, Georgia did what many other states did, which was chase test scores instead of doing what we should have been doing at the first place, and that's focusing in on the children and what skills and experiences they needed to be successful. We're going back towards that with a lot of the literacy push that we've seen, but we need to make sure that no matter what, we stay focused on the main thing, and that is the future of our children. That's why, as governor, I'm going to make sure that we focus in on the skills and the experiences that our students should be getting, that we're empowering our educators and our school leaders to deliver on what they should be delivering on, and then holding them accountable, making sure that we're providing our parents with options to best cater to the education of their children, and ultimately investing in our education system across the state. Look, I also want to make sure to point out that the reason that we've had to spend a whole bunch of money is because we underinvested in our public education system for over a decade in this state because of failed Republican leadership. So in many ways, we are playing catch up, and the state needs a leader that is going to focus on ensuring that we do everything that we can to not just play catch up, but to get ahead. And that's why I talk about early education. That's why I talk about making sure that on the back end, we're providing people with opportunities with apprenticeship programs and good paying jobs, technical colleges, and then needs-based scholarships. It's going to take a holistic approach. But as someone who is a former educator, I've been on the school board, I've been in the state Senate, I've seen this issue from multiple angles. I'm the right leader in this moment to tackle this big problem that we have around education.
Excellent. Final question, and it comes from a parent.
Yep.
Comes from Coupe Joe. She's a parent, and her question is focused on the scholarship tax credit program. And it is more and more working class Black and brown families are taking advantage of the state scholarship tax credit program for education. Would you be in favor of extending the cap so that even more working class families have educational options? The cap is right now around $120 million.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And look, the only way I would be in favor of doing that is if we hold these scholarship organizations more accountable. Right now, the restrictions are too loose, in my opinion, and there are many scholarship organizations that are paying more around administration and putting the money in pockets where it doesn't belong instead of putting that money towards children. So I believe that if we improve accountability around these SSOs, if we improve the outcomes and tie the money to specific outcomes around Black and brown children, working class families in particular, making sure that the money is being used well in the same way that we hold our school systems accountable and have reporting mechanisms with our school systems. As long as we apply those same methods to the scholarship program, then I would be open to supporting it more. In the meantime, I want to make sure that I work every day that I'm in the governor's office and ensuring that parents have more options across this state at a high quality public education system. 90% of our kids go to public schools. So we have to make sure that we are improving the systems in which the vast majority of our children attend. And it's the only option they have, which is why I'm so focused on improving our public education system.
Well, Jason, we are genuinely grateful for the opportunity that you've afforded us and allow voters to hear from you directly. So we're genuinely grateful. I speak on behalf of Jay, even though you can't hear her.
Jade, I am so sorry. I feel really bad, but I'm sorry.
Jay, what'd you do to Jason? What'd you do to Jason, Jay?
This is what you did. I didn't do nothing.
Oh man, I can't even hear what you said.
Oh my God. Well, I can assure you her voice sounds much better than mine, brother. Well, nonetheless, thank you again.
All right,
and we
I appreciate you.
We'll circle back in short order.
Okay, thank y'all so much. Have a great afternoon.
All right, hopefully everyone else can hear me. David, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
All right,
Perfect.
That was too. I think you did it on purpose. You wanted to have more time, David. I know you did. Just a ham. Well, look, I want to thank all of our viewers for being with us. We have one more candidate Mr. Olu Brown, who I believe is backstage. And Mr. Olu Brown, there he is. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. You are our final candidate for today, but obviously we've got a lot to hear about your candidacy and why you're running for governor. You've got 2 minutes for opening statements before we go into asking you some questions. But wait, first, can you hear me okay?
Oh my God, we can't hear you.
This is
All right, I got you.
Okay.
Can you hear me
okay.
now?
All right. Awesome. Okay.
I can
I'm
hear
glad
you.
I'm glad I took that pause for technical grace, right? Yeah. And for all of our viewers listening and watching this, we appreciate y'all's grace. This is our first time doing this effort. And more than anything, we wanted to do it this way to be authentic. So, hey, things happen. But hopefully you'll be able to view this from the comfort of your home, from somewhere out, in the community, doing whatever you need to do to get through the day, but still being able to hear from some of our esteemed candidates running for governor. So with that, Mr. Brown, I would love to give you 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Well, thank you, and hello to everyone. I had a wonderful time this morning in Cobb County with the Cobb County Dems. I'm here today for this forum, and thank you so much because education is near and dear to my heart. In just a little while, I'll be at 2 or 3 of the No Kings rallies throughout Georgia. And so we were first to declare back in August of 2024 to run for governor on the Democratic side, and even on the Republican side. As you look at all the candidates who are running, we were first because I believe leaders go first. And as it relates to education in Georgia, you need a governor who is not afraid to take risks, who is not afraid to hold people accountable, and who is not afraid to go first. I am so grateful that I was raised by educators. My mother was my 4th grade school teacher. My entire community was made of educators. I actually have a lifetime teaching certificate for grades 1 through 8 in education. So when I talk about education, it is personal to me, and it is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And as the next governor of Georgia, I will do everything I can to protect the rights of our kids, their parents, and our educators to make sure Georgia is number 1 in education. My name is Olu Brown, and I'm running for governor to build a better education system for all of Georgia, kids in the mountains, in the north, in metro, in middle Georgia, in south, and coastal Georgia. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you.
And thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown, for your opening statements. We have about 5 or 6 questions to ask, one of which is going to come from a parent. But before we go there, you mentioned that you're a longtime educator. We want to go directly into that personal reflection on what it was to be a teacher. And the first question we have for you is, well, actually, let's bring up that screen, the data that we can show of the teacher salaries. So Atlanta public school teachers make about $61,000 on average, and then it grows down to about $60,000 for Fulton County. According to the Georgia Gwinnett College Schools of Education, 85% of all educators rate as proficient or exemplary on Georgia's teacher evaluation system. The first question I have for you is, what is your view on letting teachers opt into a system where they can reach their maximum salary in 15 years instead of 30? With pay increases based solely on proficiency or exemplary in status?
Well, several things from my own life experience. I mentioned my mother was my 4th grade school teacher. She received her undergrad from an HBCU in Texas called Prairie View A&M University. And then she received her graduate degree from the University of Georgia. Here is a woman with a graduate level degree teaching in education. And one of the memories I have is her sitting on the couch with a checkbook and tears in her eyes as she was raising 3 kids by herself. And guess what? There was never enough money. In the school district where she worked, she got paid once a month. And whenever she got paid, we had more than enough. But as the month went on, we had less and less. And there were even kids in her class that she had to buy supplies for, or food for, or clothing for. So my mother and so many other educators were grossly underpaid. Here is what I'm proposing as the next governor. We are number 1 in SEC football. We need to be number 1 in education pay for our starting teachers. In the SEC, we're going to raise our starting teacher pay to more than $50,000 so that we're number 1 in starter teacher pay. And then for our veteran teachers who have been teaching 5 years or more, we're going to give them a break on their state income tax, and that will give them an immediate $3,500 to $4,000 raise. It's not just a bump. It's not just a quick bonus that goes away, but it is an appreciation for the value that they already bring to their place of work. And so, yes, I am in favor of helping them maximize their salary in lesser time than waiting over a 30-year benchmark. Here's one of the other realities, and this is why I'm fighting for the equality and the protection of rights of women. When you study education and the history of education, predominantly it has been led by women. And we know that women are not paid what their male counterparts are paid. So a part of the valuation of teacher pay has also been because of gender. As governor, we're going to make sure that men and women are protected, but in particular, women. And in this case, we're going to raise education, which we know many of our educators are women, and we're going to let them know we value them.
Excellent, excellent. All right, the second question I have in around 90 seconds, Mr. Brown, is this. Principals, especially in high needs high schools, are currently required to accept teachers from other schools without the principal's input or consent, and before they can hire other teachers. This practice is called forced placements. What are your thoughts about ending the practice of forced placements in all schools in Georgia?
So I would end the practice of forced placement. My background has been as a faith leader. And sometimes when people say, oh, you were a pastor of a church, they think about the small church that they grew up in. We started a church with 25 volunteers. And 15 years later, it was the largest worshiping Methodist community in the state of Georgia, one of the fastest growing in the country. Our budget was in the multi-million-dollar level, including our payroll. I've had an opportunity to hire a lot of individuals here in the state of Georgia. And now as a small business owner, I get the same opportunity. I never want to be forced as a business owner, as a manager, as a leader to hire people that I know will not give us the outcomes that are best for the organization. I see principals as CEO leaders of their schools. They should have the ultimate right to decide who is on their team if we're holding them accountable for outcomes. Because if we tell them you need to soar or you need to excel in these particular areas, like any great coach, you need to pick your own team. So I would discontinue that practice in the state of Georgia.
All righty. Thank you so much for that. And we're moving on to question 3, which is dealing with enrollment decline and school choice. And if we could put up the figures to show that Atlanta Public Schools has had a 5.7% decline in enrollment. And if you look at the stats, it shows that Cobb County has stayed stable, but Gwinnett County has had a 1.8% decline in enrollment. We did a poll in 2025, July of 2025, with esteemed pollster Cornell Belcher from Brilliant Corners. And some of the top 3 reasons that were cited for the decline were decline in birth rates, housing affordability and demographic shifts, and school choice and alternative education. The question we have for you is, as the governor, what would be your approach to stopping the decline in enrollment in Metro Atlanta Public Schools? And what is your position on allowing them to move to have more educational options?
Well, first of all, much of my career has been in the Metro Atlanta Public School District area, and I actually served as a substitute in times in the Atlanta Public School District, and have known a lot of wonderful educators in Atlanta Public School as well as administrators. So first, let me say thank you for the hard work that each of our educators do every single day, often without any fanfare. So to address school decline, you've got to approach it from a whole to part standpoint. But let me say this first. I'm one of the only ones running for governor who is not a current or former elected official. We got to hold our elected officials accountable because a lot of this decline happened on their watch. And these folks are trying to represent you again, but yet the decline happened on their watch. That's why we need outsiders who get the job done. And as your next governor, I will address school enrollment decline. It's several things that we must do. As you mentioned earlier, it's about housing affordability. I want to take a whole apart look at housing development in the state of Georgia to make sure we have higher housing stock and that housing is more affordable. But it's not just housing, it's also addressing all of the wraparound services in communities, in particular, our urban communities. What is the retail like? What is the green space like? What are our hospital systems? And what are the other amenities? Because it's not only having a school, but it is having all of the services that families and individuals buy into. And a school is just a big part of that whole system. But then it's also about affordability and what we're realizing with lower birth rates and even coming through COVID. I'm fighting to make Georgia more affordable. Here's what I want people to know about me as you elect me as your next governor. I understand what a loaf of bread costs. I understand what a gallon of milk costs. We've got to stop electing folks to public office who can afford everything to represent so many people who can't afford much of anything. As a former faith leader, I've been in our schools, I've mentored in our schools, and I've also been in our communities. And I know that it is not a one-hit wonder. We have to design a comprehensive plan to address school decline, enrollment decline in cities like Atlanta. We can do it if we come together and make sure we're developing the entire community and the families that are in the community so that folks will stay in those districts and new people will move into those districts and families will grow in those districts. It is absolutely possible and we'll do it.
Okay. And I think this is, I think this is our next to last question. And we have another graph that we want to show you dealing with proficiency rates for middle schoolers, specifically eighth graders, Brother Brown. And it displays eighth graders in Georgia in reading and math, Black, Latino, and white. As you can see, blacks in Georgia, 18% proficient in reading, 9% in math. Latinos, 26% in reading, 17% in math. Whites, 43% in reading, 38% in math. There's a bill going through the Georgia legislature assembly right now that's trying to address, literacy for K-3. But here's the question that we have for you. With such alarming proficiency rates in reading and math for eighth graders, especially Black and Latino students, what would be your legislative solution to address this?
Well, one, it's a moral failure that we see the statistics that you just showed across the board for Black, Latino, and white individuals. It means we have failed our kids and we have failed our parents and we have failed our communities. Now, it's not only the responsibility of the school, it's the responsibility of everyone, but our elected officials play a key role. And once again, this has happened on the watch of former elected officials and current elected officials. These statistics are not new. They saw these issues over the decades, but nothing was done about it. I embrace the United Way of Metro Atlanta. They've got a wonderful database called the Child Wellbeing Database, where if you live in Metro Atlanta, you can simply type in your zip code and you can see the quality of life and health for a kid in that zip code. And here's what it will show you. And it's statistically what we already know. The closer you are to urban sectors, the less healthy it is for kids and families. And one of the statistics they track are eighth grade math scores and third grade reading scores. Here's the first thing that I will do in the first 100 days as the governor to address literacy and math skills. I will meet with all of our state school superintendents in every district across our state, in addition to our state elected superintendent. And I will also meet with our principals and other administrators. Here's what's happened in government. So often we pass laws from the Gold Dome that have no impact in the classrooms with our kids. We've got to start listening to the people who are on the front line, and not only the educators, but the parents and the community leaders, they know best how to help their kids with math and also with literacy. So we will build a program that listens from the ground up and implement those resources in our classrooms and stop telling them what they should do from the Gold Dome. Secondly, we will invest the financial resources, the skill set resources, and the time that is needed to make sure all of those percentages we just showed for every group goes higher, because it's a moral failure. And thirdly, we will make sure we execute the outcomes, which are higher percentages in math readiness and reading readiness for all of our kids in the state of Georgia. Because if any kid is behind, we're all behind. And I'll close with this. Historically, we've trained kids to compete with other kids next door who are in Alabama or Mississippi or Florida. We cannot educate kids to compete locally anymore. We have to educate our kids to compete on an international level with Asia, with Africa, with Australia. And if we're not doing that every single day in our classrooms, we're failing our kids.
Thank you so much. We've got one final question from me, and then we have a question from one of our parents or an educator, I believe. And it's interesting. It was a perfect segue, because the question I have for you is about spending versus outcomes. So we're spending more on education than ever before. The statistics will show that in the last 5 years, we've spent over $2.3 billion more in state funding in the education budget. The question I have for you is, how do you reconcile that as a state we're spending more on education, yet the key indicators for reading and math proficiency are stagnant or declining, especially with Black and Latino children?
Well, first, I am in favor of spending on education because I believe our kids are our greatest resource. So I am totally in favor of spending on education, but having the right outcomes in those expenses. But secondly, part of the reason you're seeing the expenses go up and the outcomes go down, because that's government 101. We're letting the wrong people do the job. We've got to put it back in the hands of the folks who are actually educating our kids. So that's why in the first 100 days, I will visit as many of our school districts across the state of Georgia. We will go to as many of the 190 districts as we can. And we will listen to the administrators. We will listen to the educators. We will listen to the students. And we will listen to the parents. And we will go through that line item by line item, that $13+ billion expenditure. And we will target each line item to an outcome. And we will do what I have to do in my business. Is this producing? Yes, it's producing. Let's keep it. This isn't producing. We need to exit. This needs more investment. Let's take it to the next level. And what you got to understand, a lot of our politicians aren't used to doing that kind of work. We're failing our kids. We're failing our parents. And we simply tell them the Republicans didn't let us do it. The Democrats didn't let us do it. Washington didn't let us do it. Guess what? A kid only has one time to do grades 1 through 12. They deserve better leadership from our elected officials. And I want you to know, if you elect me as governor, I will not fail our parents. I will not fail our schools, and I will not fail our kids. And that's why we're proposing the 12+2 promise, that when a kid graduates from a high school in Georgia, in addition to all of their options, 2 very important options they will have is to receive a trade certificate or an IT certificate so they are ready to compete on a global level. We'll do everything we can.
Excellent. And final question comes from a resident, the DeKalb County resident, and it's Mr. Andre Prosper. And his question is this: Georgia recently mandated that before graduating high school, students must take a financial literacy course. What are your thoughts on mandating this requirement for graduating seniors at all state-funded institutions of higher learning?
Well, thank you so much for your question. I believe literacy in general is vital, but financial literacy is very much needed across the board for all of our students in high school, but also graduating seniors at all state-funded institutions of higher learning. We've got to make sure the curriculum isn't biased. We've got to make sure the curriculum takes into consideration all of the needs of every student in Georgia. And we also have to make sure what is being taught is fair, equitable, and applicable, because helping kids understand financial literacy is a part of the core component of becoming a mature adult. You know, I'm blessed with 4 kids in our blended family. We've got 2 21-year-old daughters. One just finished undergrad and is in the working world. The second is in her junior year in college. The oldest boy is in his freshman year in college, and the youngest is in middle school. He's 14 years old. And I get the wonderful opportunity of dropping him off and getting in car line by 7:45 a.m. in the morning and picking him up whenever I'm in town. But even at 14, one of the questions he's been asking me is about money. And I know in my lifetime, literacy related to finances has literally changed a million times over. It is a wise investment to make sure our kids know about finances so that as they get into their 20s, their 30s, and their 40s, they're more responsible and productive as it relates to finances. So yes, I wholeheartedly support it. And thank you for your question.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Brown. And
Thank
for
you.
all of our viewers, this was a great opportunity to hear from all of our candidates. And Mr. Brown, you're closing us out as our final candidate for the day. So thank you so much for your time and your candidacy, and wish you the best of luck with your campaign.
My pleasure. And thank you to all your viewers.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this will conclude this series on our gubernatorial candidates that are running in Georgia. We had 4 of the 7 candidates available for y'all to hear from today and to learn a little bit more about their campaign. Thurman, Jackson, Estevez, and Brown were able to join us today. At the top of the hour, if you weren't here and you joined a little bit late, we did have a poll. And that poll was basically asking anyone who was participating, if you have made your decision, are you either voting, do you know who you're voting for, yes or no, or are you undecided? And 100% of you said that you were undecided. David, I'm just curious, what do you think now that we've heard from the candidates?
I think some people have been convicted to say, you know what, I'm gonna support this particular candidate now that hearing from them. That would be my guess.
Okay. Well, let's see. Now that we've heard from the candidates, do we want to bring up the next polling to see if we want to actually ask our viewers?
I would love to see it. Okay. Oh, they got everybody on there. So they can scan the QR code and then let us know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to see. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Some of y'all go ahead and let us know if any of these candidates have convicted you to say, I'm a rock with such and such person. Yeah, I think it's also.
Well, I was going to say, just for housekeeping, the QR code is at the top of the screen. So if you could either use your phone to go to that QR code, or you can text Tasha Robinson at, what is it? 22. Be quiet, David. 22333. You see me trying to squint and see it?
Boy, you struggling, girl.
Listen,
they let you drive. They let you drive at night, Jay?
No, I don't drive at night. But don't worry about what I'm doing over here, all right? I do not drive at night. No, I know it's bad. But listen, look, let's get the focus off of me and get the focus on the candidates. I think this was a great forum to have. I really appreciate all the candidates having a stance on education. You know, the reality is we've got 39 gubernatorial races happening across this country. And, you know, education is not the top priority for any one state. However, it's important, especially when we look at the local context and the national context of education. So we are hoping that we can continue to push this narrative around the need to focus on public education specifically, but also just on the education options that are out there for our students. And I love the conversations we had around, you know, proficiency and teacher pay. All of that was really important. And I was glad to hear you know, just overall and support for not only an increase in teacher pay, but also school options and thinking about innovation differently. So with that said, I don't know, can we get up the final results? Do we know what people voted? Do we have any thing we can share before we close out?
Drum roll. So, oh, interesting.
All right. Well, what does this say? Because you always talk about I can't see. So I see a big blue line for somebody. So tell us
Jason
what it says, David.
Estevez.
What's the order? 1, 2, 3.
Yes, Estevez 1, and Brown and Jackson tied for 2.
All right. Okay. And
yes, that's it. Yep, 50% for Estevez, 25 apiece for Brown and Jackson.
All right. Well, again, we just want to thank everybody, all the viewers who participated in this live virtual forum. We appreciate the grace that we've showed with some of the technical difficulties we had, but I think that all of our candidates were able to share a good understanding of their platform and how they feel about education. It is one of the most consequential issues facing Georgia families, and we appreciate our candidates for sharing their vision, and we thank our viewers for engaging in this democratic process. If you are not registered to vote, we encourage that you do so. And if you are registered, please participate in the upcoming primary. David, when's the primary?
May the 19th, Tuesday, May 19th.
Tuesday, May the 19th. Your vote, your choice, your voice. Thank you from Freedom to Choose Schools Action. Thank you for all of our participants and our producers for putting this on. We hope you all have a fantastic Saturday. And again, get out and vote. Most important thing.
Yes. Thank you all.